Now, I know it sounds strange. It was I had trouble explaining to a lot of people as I worked on this book that I was writing a book against positive thinking. Which is like coming out against whole grains or Ellen DeGeneres or something. It's like, who could do that? So I should explain I am not against having a nice day. I am, or smiling at strangers, or partying all night, all those things. I'm completely down with those things. In fact, as Barbara mentioned, I even wrote a book about joy, Dancing in the Streets, a history of collective joy. So, okay, I'm not a sourpuss. Just want to get that clear. And in this book, I'm going after an ideology, which took me a long time to sort of identify it, and to see, to sort it out from everything else, because it is so pervasive in our culture that we barely notice it most of the time. It's the idea that you should be, that you have to be positive, optimistic, cheerful, and if you're not, you have to work on yourself till you get to be positive, optimistic, and cheerful. And I first encountered this ideology at a pretty low point. It's kind of mandatory positive thinking 8 years ago when I was being treated for breast cancer. I was not happy about getting breast cancer for many reasons, and kind of shocked. I thought you had to have breasts to get breast cancer, and anyway, there I was suddenly with this disease. And my first thought, being an old-time feminist health activist, was to reach out to other women for information and support and encouragement. That's just what we do. And that, I went to all the websites I could, that were about breast cancer. I ordered books that had been written by people who had had breast cancer, and also by doctors and everything. I got everything I could. What I found was constant exhortations to be positive and cheerful about my disease. First thing I find, I should mention, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so let me really get into trouble here. Pink ribbons everywhere. In fact, the scariest thing, and this was right at the beginning when I was just diagnosed. I was waiting in a waiting room and found in a local newspaper an ad for a pink breast cancer teddy bear. And that was like an existential moment for me, because I realized I am not afraid of dying. I am afraid of dying with a pink teddy bear tucked under my arm, though. Another example of the infantilization that goes with breast cancer, and with some other kinds of cancer, I'm being told. I'm learning a lot just, in the last few days when talking to people, men as well as women, who've been through these things. There was, they may still be doing it, an organization, a foundation in New York City that was giving out tote bags to women who were being treated for breast cancer. I wasn't being treated there, but I got hold of one of these tote bags, and it had some cheap rhinestone jewelry in it. It had moisturizers. It had some, little fluffy feminine things, and it had a box of crayons. So I called the foundation and I said, "This is really nice what you're doing for women with this tote bag, but what's with the crayons?" And the answer I got was, "Well, that's in case, you should want to jot down any of your feelings or experiences." I said, "I am a writer. We do not use crayons." But you can just see, I think men in general are treated with a little more dignity, at least when they're diagnosed with prostate cancer. They're not given gifts of matchbox cars. It went beyond this, though. The line is, and not only then, but certainly still is that you should embrace the disease. That the disease is a good thing. It's not an annoyance, even. It is a gift to you. There is a book called The Gift of Cancer, A Call to Awakening, that explains that this is your chance to get in touch with, your better self and to evolve into a more spiritual person and so on. There are T-shirts you can buy on the web right now that say "Thank you, Cancer." Uh, and this is not really how I was feeling grateful. All I could think of was, if cancer is your idea of a gift, get me off your Christmas list, At one point, as an experiment, I posted a statement on one of the big breast cancer foundation's message boards, the Komen Foundation, which, is behind most of these runs and races for the cure. And I did it under the subject line, angry. And I mentioned problems with the insurance company. I said, why don't we know the cause of this disease? Why is there an epidemic of this disease? Well, let's talk about that. And then why are the treatments so barbaric? The treatments are, I'm sorry, I'm very critical often of the medical profession and everything, but to chemotherapy, kill every cell in the body that's dividing and hope the cancer cells die too. That's toxic. So I just put all this on, and I even mentioned pink ribbons because it's kind of annoying to me. And I got responses that were like, Barb, run, don't walk, to get some counseling. I realized that, from their point of view, I was sick in more ways than one. And I know there was a good intention there, because the idea has been that you have to be positive if you want to recover from cancer. That your mood, that your emotions will affect it. This is practically axiomatic. I mean, you will hear it so often. I'm sure there are people here who have encountered this in their own lives, or through friends who had it. And how does a positive attitude, cure cancer? Well, this sounded so familiar and benign that I had barely questioned this. And that is, supposedly, the positive attitude boosts the immune system so the immune system can fight the cancer. All right. I have a PhD in cell biology. In fact, it's a PhD in cellular immunology. And in working on Bright-Sided, I read up on all the, the most recent studies. There is no evidence that the immune system protects against cancer or fights cancer. Maybe eventually we'll figure out how to use it to, but there's this one little problem. Cancer cells are your own body's cells. The immune system, its whole idea in life is to attack foreign things like microbes. And there is no evidence, or very murky evidence, that a positive attitude boosts the immune system at all. Certainly extreme stress, and many laboratory animals have been tortured to prove this. Extreme stress does wreck a creature's health and immune system. But, now we also, more to the point, have what they're called meta studies of lots of other studies showing that, that there is no difference between people who could be expected to be more positive and whether they or not they recover from breast cancer, lung cancer, neck cancer, or throat cancer. And it's this whole thing was not true. But there I was in 2001 being told essentially that if I didn't recover, it was my own fault, because I wasn't working on myself enough to be positive. So that was my first encounter with mandatory positive thinking. In the years that followed, I began to encounter it in so many other aspects of our society, especially things to do with wealth and poverty. If you are poor, or you have enough money, a lot of people here probably don't have jobs right now, and that there are hundreds of self-help books, probably not so many in this bookstore as in some bookstores I've been in recently, that will show how you can attract money to yourself with the powers of your mind alone.